Hell collapses the moment she steps onto the gondola, dropping Asriel in the process. The battle with the hunter was over, but the pressure was just now getting to her. A pressure in her stomach, pressure on her wounds, and pressure in her head. She throbs as though her entire being were a pained nerve. Having lost her mask during the fight, Hell has nothing to hide her face, nothing to conceal her feelings from Supei, who finally shows up behind her. Hell glances down at him, unsure how she should feel about this. Then, in a gesture she didn't expect, Supei nods as though permitting her to hurt. It swells up fast and bubbles to the surface. Emotion. Hell lunges for the side of the boat and vomits into the river. When she pulls back, she finds her pathetic reflection amidst wailing souls and stomach acids.
We should hurry.
Supei's voice moves as slowly as the river beneath them. He prods Asriel with the bottom of his pickaxe.
His divinity buffer is gone. Soon enough, he'll succumb to his wounds.
Nodding, Hell summons her scythe rifle and uses it to sail them down the river and back to base. They, or at least Hell, arrive in a tizzy. She carries Asriel up the shore and towards the training grounds. Every so often she stops and jogs in place to wait for Supei, but abandons this when he waves her off.
Stay awake, asshole. I don't want to have to tell Navan that I let you die.
Look, it's Gilgamesh.
Veal's voice booms from within a smog up ahead. Hell hears a loud hiss, followed by the sound of metal clanking, and comes to a stop just outside the cloud of darkness.
That's enough.
Anubis commands, but nothing happens. Just more hissing, some laughter from Veals, and some trotting from Rhiannon. After a sigh and a glance to Izanami, Anubis crouches down. He traces his finger across the ground, and whatever he touches becomes sand. From the sand, he grasps something, and when he stands, it stands with him. A sarcophagus. It springs open when he taps it, and vacuums the miasma into it, leaving the battlefield clear for all to see. Ishtar has Veals pinned, claws at his neck, while Rhiannon stands over both of them, twirling her scythe. None of them go through with their attacks once they notice Hell, and by extension, Asriel. Everyone except Navan and Thanatos, who are both off in their own little world.
Code red!
Hell calls out, and Thanatos' shoulders perk up. Just like they practiced, Thanatos snakes around Navan, covers her eyes with one hand, then crushes a butterfly with the other. Presumably, all the ichor coming out of Asriel would take on a less foreboding color. That way it wouldn't trigger Navan's other half. Veals, Ishtar, and Rhiannon crowd Hell, even though they'd been told never to do that. Navan isn't much better. They're told to keep their emotions in check, especially at trying times like this. They've all seen so much death, so it's a wonder it bothers any of them at all. But the way it twists Navan's face puts even more pressure on Hell. It twists her insides and makes her feel so weak. She was smiling up until the moment she arrived. She knew Navan was only distressed over Asriel, but Hell couldn't shake the immediate thought that this was somehow her fault.
Navan, wait!
Hell says, stepping forward, but it's too late. Navan clutches her face and screams. Not only is it deafening, but it also shakes Hell's divinity and leaves her stunned for all of 8 seconds. When Hell's senses return, she finds that Veals, Ishtar, and Rhiannon had been knocked unconscious by the scream, while Anubis and Izanami were fine. Hell and Thanatos managed to withstand it, but hadn't been left unscathed. Thanatos, like Hell, had ichor leaking from his ears. Navan, oblivious to the damage she'd done, stands before Hell, grasping up for Asriel. Against her better judgment, Hell hands over the injured angel. Navan loses her balance and falls back, cradling him all the same. The elders just watch. Thanatos approaches. Navan looks up at him, and Hell looks down at him. Navan's on the verge of tears. Navan's chest is rising, and her face is flushing. Tears swell in her eyes, and Hell's afraid she'll scream again.
Stay calm,
Hell says, taking a knee.
He's not gone yet. Apply some pressure to his wounds. I'll prepare a—
There's no time.
Thanatos speaks up. He steps in and takes a spot at Hell's side.
I'll get him to the infirmary.
Thanatos eyes Navan.
Bring Styx water from the other shore. It'll help with the healing. I'll use my divinity to level him out.
Then to Hell.
Inform the Reaper what happened.
Thanatos hunches down before Navan and pulls Asriel from her tight grasp. He locks eyes with her as he hoists the man over his shoulder.
Don't worry. I won't let anything happen to him.
Then, like that, he's off. Hel watches Thanatos move faster than she thought possible for the lanky deity. Purple divinity surrounds Thanatos and soon spreads onto Azrael's form. Hel couldn't believe the lengths Thanatos would go for his comrades. It makes her feel warm because it means he'd probably do the same for her. Though looking at Navan makes Hel think otherwise. The worry that had strained her face was still there, but made softer, soothed by Thanatos' words and actions. He hadn't done this for Azrael. It was all for Navan. After tracking down the Reaper and letting her know what happened, Hel ended up on the shore of Phlegethon. She didn't stop by her room or dress any of her wounds. She didn't even bother grabbing another mask. No, Hel came here because she knew it was the furthest corner from the infirmary. It wasn't to hide, but the solitude is a welcome bonus. Solitude. Yeah, right. Not even 15 minutes and someone is bothering her.
I didn't expect you to help Azrael.
Hel says, feeling a presence behind her. One she knows all too well.
Couldn't let him die in front of Navan.
Thanatos responds, coming into her periphery.
Fair.
Hel curves her spine and turns away from Thanatos, not wanting him to see her face. In every direction, there's the same thing, a field of white lilies that ends just as the flowing river begins. Hel looks up to the starless void above Death's domain. Wherever they are, it can't be reached by the Rainbow Bridge or the branches of Yggdrasil. Everyone thinks there are only 9 realms, yet Hel sits here, existing just like anyone else would.
From what cage to another?
This spot taken?
Hel clasps the left side of her face as though that would obscure her gray skin. She looks at Thanatos. His eyes seem puffier than usual, a bit red in fact. He turns away. She must have been staring for too long. They must be quite the sight. 2 young gods with sullen expressions that mar the visage of beautiful flowers bordering a waterway that shines like a dead sky. Are they both so broken that they can't, even in passing, appreciate this beauty? It may just be that these surroundings aren't as stunning without the sun to shine over them and accentuate everything. It's all suffocated by this thick
darkness,
Thanatos says out of the blue, somehow finishing Hel's thought. She looks to him, and he's looking at her. They stare at each other. Then his expression, if ever so briefly, cracks, and he does this kind of smile.
Can't stand it. But it's all we have out here.
Thanatos leans down and picks up a stone off the beachfront. While tossing the rock up and down in his hand, he continues.
Would it kill the Reaper to lighten up this place? It's like a never-ending funeral. It's enough to make a guy want to kill himself.
Thanatos tosses the stone, and Hel counts the skips as it bounces atop the river. 3.
Not even a chuckle.
If you could sail the river and never come back, where would you go?
Home? Or is that too cliche?
Thanatos skips another rock that again only bounces 3 times.
Nah. It's not a cliche when you point it out. Doesn't make it deep either.
Let me ask you something.
Thanatos says, looking at her.
Why are you talking to me right now?
Because you literally walked up and started talking to me?
Right.
Thanatos skips another rock.
But it's been over a minute, and you haven't flipped me off. I'm usually the last person you want to be around.
I guess we've both come a long way.
Hel says as she watches the night that ripples around the skipping rocks. 4 skips.
That's so.
I'm serious. You've changed, Thanatos. At first I didn't think I liked the new you, but back there it clicked. The way you took charge, how you helped Azrael even though it's obvious you guys hate each other's guts. I don't know. I get it now. Why the Reaper chose you.
Chose me?
You don't have to go on jobs. You don't have to earn your keep around here. You can come and go as you please.
Hel picks up a rock of her own and tosses it. 3 skips.
She's grooming you to be her successor.
She doesn't like questions because sometimes she gives more than one answer.
I'm jealous.
Hel says as she stands up.
I thought to myself, if I couldn't have a family, then maybe I'd have friends. And maybe if I couldn't have friends, I'd have my job. Becoming the Reaper's successor was probably the best bet I had. But you have all those things in spades.
Hell.
He doesn't skip another rock.
I know. This isn't my style. Let's call a truce on whatever one-sided thing we've had going.
Hel looks at him.
I almost died. I guess I'm looking for a fresh start anywhere I can find it. Maybe then I'll become the kind of person people worry about.
Hel's own words left her trembling. Thanatos stares at her. He must have the wrong idea.
Nobody seemed worried about me. Not even Navon. I can handle it when people ignore me. I'm used to that. I would have been okay with everything if she just looked my way and smiled.
Hel's body continues shaking no matter how much she begs it to stop.
Are you hearing this?
Now her voice is trembling too.
What kind of selfish person expects someone to smile while their boyfriend is bleeding out in front of them? The hell is wrong with me?
Suddenly, she's still. Thanatos' arms flex around her waist and work to stop her shaking. Hel's eyes widen as she looks down to find Thanatos staring up at her.
It's not selfish. It's not selfish to want others to care about you.
Despite the size difference, he tries to move closer to her, to hold her.
I was worried about you.
It's stupid how it all melts away. Now that he's holding her like this, she can't help it. She can't help but feel the rhyme surrounding her heart thaw into the tears that flow from her eyes. She feels small again. At that moment, she feels precious to him. Even if these words weren't meant for her, they still work as intended. Just like earlier when she entered the fray to fight the hunter, Hel does something she never thought she would. She drops down to a knee, but still looms over and she hates it. Both arms fall to her side, no longer concerned with hiding the part of her she finds ugliest. She wishes she could get both arms around him without crushing him, but can't. Even so, she hugs him, best as a giant like her could. Whenever Hel's grip on him tightens, he squeezes back. It's as if he'll never let go. Hel doesn't ask questions because she's terrified of what the answers may be, but right now, she doesn't have to. Everything that could be said is told by a touch and cemented in a hold. Hel's finally come to accept it. She loves Thanatos. She loves him with all her heart. The most frightening part is, she hadn't the faintest idea what to do now. So she'll keep hugging him. She'll keep crying. Then maybe, once she's defrosted completely, she'll be ready to ask a question.